I used to believe loyalty was something you earned by being useful, not in the abstract way people post about online, but in the practical sense, showing up early, staying late, saying yes when everyone else said no. I learned that early in my family. My mother called it being dependable. My older sister Mara called it pulling your weight. Over time it became clear that what they meant was, you will handle this. Mara was 8 years older than me, which meant she had already decided who I was before I had a chance to contradict her. She was loud where I was careful, charismatic where I was quiet. Teachers loved her, employers admired her confidence. Family friends called her a natural leader. When she spoke, people leaned in. When I spoke, they nodded politely and waited for her to finish the thought. Our father died when I was 19, a heart attack in a parking lot, one of those abrupt endings that leaves no room for final conversations. Mara had already moved out by then. I was still at home, commuting to a state university and working nights at a print shop. After the funeral, after the casserole stopped coming, it was me who stayed. I helped my mother refinance the house. I took on utilities. I covered groceries when her hours were cut. I paused my plans for graduate school because now isn't the right time, which everyone said in a tone that suggested selfish would have been the alternative. Mara visited on weekends, sweeping in with stories about her job in compliance consulting, about how she basically kept companies from destroying themselves. She spoke in acronyms and legal jargon, loved to remind people she worked adjacent to federal regulators. She never offered money, she never had to, she offered advice, which somehow always landed as authority. You're good at the details, she told me once, flipping through a stack of mail I'd organized. You don't mind the boring stuff. I did mind, I just didn't argue. By the time I graduated, Mara had leveraged her connections into a senior role at a government-adjacent contracting firm. She called me one night, voice brisk and excited. We need an internal audit analyst, she said. Someone meticulous, trustworthy. It's perfect for you. I asked about the salary. She deflected. It's a foot in the door. And honestly, with your personality, stability matters more than money. I took the job. That became the pattern. I took the job. I took the extra work. I took the responsibility when things quietly went wrong and needed fixing without making noise. I built spreadsheets no one else wanted to maintain. I tracked compliance changes. I flagged risks early, quietly, always in writing. Mara rose quickly. I stayed put. When our mother fell ill, I covered her medical bills. When Mara needed help prepping for a board review, I stayed up until 2 a.m., cleaning documentation she should have handled herself. When she forgot deadlines, I reminded her, always gently, always privately. You're such a lifesaver, she'd say, smiling. I don't know what I'd do without you. What she meant was, I don't plan to find out. By the 8th year, my job title hadn't changed, but my responsibilities had doubled. I handled vendor audits. I maintained internal compliance logs. I reviewed communications with regulatory bodies before they went out, unofficially, of course. My name never appeared on the final submissions. Mara liked it that way. Optics, she said once. You don't want visibility. Trust me. I trusted her longer than I should have. The first warning came in an email chain I wasn't meant to see. A junior associate forwarded me a message by mistake. Mara asking legal whether my role could be reclassified to non-essential during a restructuring. He's loyal, she wrote. He'll understand. I stared at the sentence longer than I want to admit. Then I archived it. I told myself it was nothing. Families maneuver, businesses adjust. Loyalty is tested. What I didn't know then was that Mara had already decided what I was worth, and that she had started writing a story where I would be the problem. The sentence that ended everything arrived on a Tuesday at 11:43 a.m. Mara has scheduled a meeting with you at 4 p.m. Subject, transition, no explanation, no context. Just the calendar block. I didn't confront her. I didn't ask questions. I sat very still and let something settle inside me. A quiet, unfamiliar clarity. At 3:58 p.m., I walked into the glass conference room. HR was already there, so was legal. Mara smiled like she always did when she thought she was being generous. This isn't personal, she said, but we're going to need you to take responsibility for the reporting discrepancies. The word responsibility echoed. She slid a folder across the table. Inside were filings I had flagged months earlier. Documents I had warned her not to submit as is. Emails she had edited before sending, removing my cautions. They're saying this could expose us, she continued calmly. We need to show decisive action. HR cleared their throat. Legal didn't look at me. You'll be terminated effective immediately, Mara said. Of course, if the regulators ask questions, we'll cooperate fully. I looked at her then, She didn't look angry or guilty. She looked relieved. That was the moment something in me went quiet. I nodded once, said nothing, signed nothing. At 4:05 p.m., my phone vibrated, an automated alert from the Office of the Inspector General, acknowledging receipt of materials submitted under the Federal Whistleblower Protection Act. Mara didn't know I'd already sent them. I had started keeping records years earlier, not out of paranoia but habit. When your job is risk, you learn that memory is unreliable and paper is patient. I had emails, version histories, metadata, timestamped warnings, internal chat logs where Mara dismissed compliance concerns in her own words. I had never intended to use them, but once I stopped arguing, I started organizing. I didn't tell anyone I'd filed a protected disclosure. I didn't threaten. I didn't posture. I let the process move at its own speed. Mara, meanwhile, grew bolder. She told colleagues I'd been overwhelmed. She framed my termination as unfortunate but necessary. She volunteered to lead the firm's response to the inquiry. In emails to regulators, she explained how she'd relied on my analysis. She spoke freely, carelessly. Every word was logged. The hearing wasn't dramatic. No raised voices. No surprises for me. Mara presented first, confident, articulate. She explained how she had trusted her analyst, how she'd been misled, how decisive action had been required. Then it was my turn. I spoke only when asked. I submitted exhibits. One by one, her emails appeared on the screen, her edits, her instructions to proceed despite risk, her dismissal of my concerns. The room changed. The investigator leaned forward. "Ms. Hale," he said carefully, "can you explain why you removed this warning before submission?" Mara opened her mouth, closed it. The final document was hers alone, a message she'd written late one night, frustrated, careless. "If anything goes wrong, we'll say it was his oversight. He's loyal. He won't fight it." Silence followed. The agency didn't raise its voice. It didn't need to. Mara was placed on administrative leave that afternoon. The firm lost its contracts within weeks. No charges were filed against me. Several were filed against her. I didn't attend the sentencing. I didn't visit her. I didn't respond when our mother asked if we could talk it out. I found a new job, a quieter one. My name on my work this time. I set boundaries. I enforced them. Some people called it cold. I called it finished. Loyalty, I learned, is not proven by how much you endure. It's proven by how carefully you remember, and by knowing exactly when to stop.